David, cheers. Good morning. Thanks for joining me today on this Friday morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. All right, you all ready to talk soloing, some shop on Fly Me to the Moon? Fly Me to the Moon is a classic jazz standard. It's actually written in the 50s, so it's not one of the early tunes that we typically are jamming over. But it's a great one, really beautiful melody. You all know it, Frank Sinatra's version. I've got a ton of materials already on Patreon. Most of you are on Patreon and have already seen my Frank Sinatra arrangement, my chords, a lot of stuff, soloing. Today is the soloing aspect of it. I actually did a live stream about a month ago on YouTube. That's now cataloged and archived on Patreon. And YouTube members, if you haven't learned the song, the basic chords, and the melody, definitely check out that lesson. I've got a lot of bonus video lessons. Of course, it's all on Patreon. But today, again, is primarily on improvisation. And we're doing some really fundamental topics. This tune in particular, good morning, Yukon. This tune in particular is just it's a good one for targeting thirds. I'll just say it that way, and that's because of the melody. The melody is this. So that's what I mean is it's a good one for thirds because we get to practice this. So it's a great one for targeting. Good morning, Terry. Thanks for joining in. So again, that's that. I'm going to recommend that you grab the PDF, the worksheet. I'm going to be referencing it, even though I'm not going to be going through it note for note. You can check that out. Check out the Sound Slice practice video with that. Today is just some concepts, just a little live stream here to discuss, talk shop, drink coffee with you guys. Terry, yeah, good to see you again. Thank you. And if you're tuning in, thanks for joining me this morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at. I'm going to assume that you already know the basic chords to Fly Me to the Moon. We're in the key of C, so I'll go over that really quickly. A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. The progression is 6, 2, 5, 1. Then that 1 turns to dominant, quick change to the 4. I always say 1 turns to dominant, goes to the 4. And then now here's the pivot chord. The 2, B minor 7 flat 5 of A minor, but that's also the 7 of C. This is all important because if you have to play it in a different key, this helps you do it on the fly. No pun intended. E7, the 5 of the 6, and back to the 6. So again, are we in the key of A minor or the key of C for the song? It ends in the key of C, so you're going to assume we're in the key of C. So that's why I said it starts on the 6, and you got the 6, and then that turns to dominant. That's the 5 of the 2. Hopefully you know the lingo now. And then it goes 5, and then the 1. I like to go 1, 4, 3, 6. Then back to the 2. 5. Baby, kiss me. And then the secondary dominant, the 5 of the 6, or you could go 2, 5. Sometimes it's easier for soloing purposes to get rid of the 2 and just go straight to the 5. So the E7. Fill my heart with song, let me sing forever. Little bossa nova feel, why not? You are all I... And I didn't do the C7 there. That's not usually in the fake book, but it's nice to do if you want to add that voice leading. If you wanted to bebop it out, go 2, 5, to the 4. You can throw in these 2-5 movements all you want if you want to get more complex. Today's topic is how to simplify. And then a lot of 2-5s. See that dominant? You can go 2-5 to the 2. Hold my hand, or hand if you want to go up. In other words, I love you. Then we can do chord melody, we could do soloing, And I'm going to just try some different things that I've got my guitar, my electric today hooked up to my loop pedal. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate what it sounds like to target those thirds. But that's the first thing I wrote on that worksheet on the, here, I'll just show you to you really quickly. You can grab it again from the Patreon page. Type in the chat, by the way, you guys, where you're at, who you are, if you're a Patreon member. I hope more Patreon members are watching, because these videos are primarily based off of your requests of the songs that you enjoy and more standards and improv ideas. But of course, for anybody not on Patreon, YouTube, I hope you're enjoying these. These videos get archived onto Patreon at the gold tier. Sometimes I even make them for all tiers, but they're always cataloged at the gold tier, and they're on YouTube member. If you don't want to join Patreon, you can watch all of these live streams as a replay on YouTube, Tracy Kim member. There is a fee for that. It's $10 a month. Okay, so I'm on my Patreon just to show you the post. And I'm going to be doing lots of live streams on various topics, from advanced soloing, from the symmetrical diminished scale to melodic minor use, to easier things like this, more conceptual basic jazz guitar. So here's the PDF I'm just going to show you that I'm looking at. And it's called Fly Me to the Moon, Easy Soloing Strategies. I'll hold it up. So just to show you, the first part of it deals with playing tenths. It's really just thirds, which is what the melody is based off of, okay? So I got to break this down for you, because I'm going to assume that this is all new for you. Gerhard, good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. So the melody is this. The third of A minor is C. And then the third of D minor is F. Well, guess what? The third of G7 is B. You can do it here if you want to get the bass note. And then the third of C is E. So the composer mapped this stuff out. He had a beautiful progression in mind, Bart Howard, and then he said, oh, I'm going to connect the thirds and do this. Third, 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 third. I got down here somehow. But again, that's what they're doing is connecting. We can do this anywhere. That's where I'm going to just do a quick demo. I'll do a loop of the progression, the first 16 bars of the song. It's just basically the same 16 bars over anyways. I'm going to lower the camera just a notch so you can see my hands. So I'm going to clear my loop pedal. This is, again, how I would just practice those thirds. I'm just going to basically, I'll play it as a bossa nova. I'll go on just the first 16. I did the little quick change. And I'll loop it right here. I'm going to grab my nylon string guitar. Hopefully it's in tune to the Strat. Where are we at? A7, D minor, G7, C, F, G. Well, I said the chord name. This is just targeting thirds. A, D, G sharp. We're on the E7. I'm naming the third degree. And then C, F, E, A7, D minor, G7. You can do these little targeting. Connect the dots. here's a quick change. Here's a melody. Third, third. Third. 4-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-3-3, 4-3-3. Now I'm just playing these little games of connecting those thirds with a little sequence. That's called a suspension, or 4-3 suspension. So you get stuff, really beautiful stuff like this. I'm doing it with chords, just so you can kind of hear the harmony. So with the loop, and it's just a little game, little melodic exercise, again, to connect those thirds. Of course, the first step is to map out those thirds so that you know where you're targeting. And that's the terminology, target tones. We're targeting the thirds. We could target the roots, we could target the fifth, we could target the seventh. The third and the seventh are guide tones. They really define the chord. You can just use those three notes. These are guide tones. So the third and the seventh, the root, that was with the root, third, seventh. On piano, they often call that a shell voicing, root, third, seventh. You get rid of the fifth. The fifth is not an important note. So again, that defines the harmony, essentially. So those are the notes you want to learn to target when soloing. But again, the melody for this particular song is all about the thirds. So that's what that exercise is. It's just to start to learn to target those thirds. And that's guide tones, quarter note lines. If you want to get the PDF again, and if you want, so the link is in the description. It'll take you to Patreon, where this one you do have to join Patreon to get it. So I highly recommend joining if you are into this stuff. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. Feel free to type in the chat. So one aspect that I think is important is spelling. And one of my Patreon members mentioned, hey, I'm gonna really work on spelling. I was kind of saying that the other day in my live stream, how important. I'm gonna tune up here to the Strat. Sorry, it's bothering me. I'm doing my all E method. How important is it to spell? It's very important. If I say A minor, you say C. If I say D minor, you say F. If I say G7, you say B. If I say C major, you say what? E. Good. If I say C7, you say what? E. Good. You got to know the third of the chords. So again, that's where I say the word targeting. You know, if you're going to target these notes, you have to know what you're targeting. You know, you see E minor. What's the third? G. A7. You say C sharp, right? You want to be fast at that. Of course, what ultimately matters is that you can do it on your instrument. It's good to be able to say it and spell it, you know, to think about it academically, but you want to be able to do that. So that's the first thing. I'm going to demonstrate that again. Just thirds. I'm going to go lower than maybe here. So what I'm thinking is I'm still thinking about the chord. Third, third. See how I'm thinking these tenths? This is where the guitar comes in to visualize, or this, and then this to think the thirds, or this. So to me, if you're watching this, you're probably a guitar player. This is where it's important to be able to do the triad I'm just talking about things that you can do to practice the B half dim, and just do these exercises. Tenths, or here. So again, we have the bass note and the melody note, the third. Essentially, that's what the song is about. It's so pretty anyways. Tunes like Autumn Leaves, very similar. So you get the idea. You can practice these thirds through your various songs and start to target. It's very beautiful. Autumn Leaves. Oh, I think I said Autumn Leaves. I meant All the Things You Are. I don't know what I said, but this. That's a perfect song to practice your thirds. Same exercises. I would practice the 3-4, 4-3 suspension. And these become little patterns on the guitar. The 2-3 suspension. Listen to the 2-3. It's very beautiful. Then 4-3. Mix and match. So again, that's demonstrating the 2-3 suspension, the 4-3 suspension. You could even do just little scale fragments. Chris, thanks for saying hi. You could go 1, 2. You can go up the scale 1, 2, 3, like this. Three, two, one. Again, it becomes a little melodic exercise, a game, and it's challenging. It's not necessarily easy. This is all about, again, this part of it is not just running up and down scales, as you can see. It's just really simplifying your soloing so that it's very melodic and lyrical. To me, that really helps bring out the melody of the song, because that's what the melody is. It's just targeting thirds, So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you guys give that a try. I'll try something else out with my strat here. I'll do it. See if I can do it. To continue on with this little game here, I'm gonna use my loop pedal, but I'm only gonna play just the roots, and then I'll play the thirds through the first 16 bars. So I might just do something like this. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Do I want to swing or Latin? I don't know. This is roots. F. I'm going to say it so I know. B, E, A, A7, D minor, G, C, F, E, quick change, A, D, G, C, and it goes B, E, and again. Maybe I'll do quarter note. F, B, E, I'm in high, A minor, D, G, E, A, D. I'm just doing roots. G, and finally C. And now I'm going to do thirds. I'm looping it. Thirds. 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 tricky. It's a little game. You have to really keep track of all those chords and chord tones. I don't think it's easy. I think it's super fun. I think it's super melodic and lyrical. Kind of reminds me of thinking like Bach or, in a jazz style where we're connecting those dots of the roots and the thirds. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like that? It's not just running up and down scales and arpeggios, right? We're just trying to connect the dots in a melodic way. Listen to Jim Hall. He's one of my very, very favorites. He was an academic too, composer. He would think about a lot of these concepts and try to do it on the instrument live. Jim Hall, Red Mitchell, listen to that version, the duo. That's a really beautiful version of the song. That was pretty fun. I'm gonna do that again, but I'm gonna make it a little bit busier. I'm gonna maybe kind of just keep those roots going, maybe walk a bass. I'm not being strict to the bass notes. I'm just staying in the, following the roots of the progression. Let's see. Sorry, I can't look at what you're saying. I'm focusing. I'm having fun. Okay, I got off there. Sorry, I was trying to look. It does sound like Bach. I'm going to just mess around with what I was just doing there. It's hard to keep it going. So I was getting kind of high up there, but I'm still following the bass line. Let's check it out. That was just targeting roots. These are things that you can do if you have a loop pedal or if you have a practice buddy, assign, say, hey, you play the root, I'll play the thirds. If you have another person, they can play the sevenths of the chords. Really, really will work your brain. And another person can play the fifth, and just hold long notes or just walk lines. Let's try that out. I looped that and I kind of got off there, so I stopped it. I'm gonna just play thirds. Let's see what tempo we're at. We'll figure it out. Thirds. See the melody? Again, you get the idea. It's kind of just spontaneous composition, improvisation based off the chord progression. And Fly Me to the Moon is such a lovely progression because of that root movement, it goes around the cycle. So it has a very natural progression because it goes in fourths. So that's one topic I really feel that is very important. It's on that worksheet here again, if you're just tuning in. Get this worksheet. The link is in the description. It just talks about connecting those thirds. And then I start to run some scales. So speaking of scales, we all love scales. We have a love-hate relationship with scales. Of course, you could just play. Some of you have already gone through my easy soloing strategies for this song. Where I do talk about playing the pentatonic scale, and there's just one scale that you can play that sounds fabulous. You know what it is, right? Through the whole song. I'm just gonna do the first 16 bars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Pentatonic, you got it. I added one note that was not in there. I'm doing a little bit of targeting, but still playing penta. Blues. want to hear those thirds. If I'm only sticking with pentatonic blues, it's a feel-good sound, but I'm kind of missing out on some of those targeting the thirds. So I think that's, again, it's nice to have, different options, and playing the penta is an option that fits all. So the other option, of course, where the pentatonic is derived or extracted from, is just the major scale. And because we're in the key of C, you can run your C major scale pretty much for the whole progression, except I would probably try to hit those secondary dominant chords. That would include the E7 and maybe the A7 and even the C7, just to try to lead us to those other little key centers. But essentially, we have A minor, 7, D minor 7, G7, and C. That's all key of C. That's 6, 2, 5, 1. So we could just run a C major scale. I'm going to start on A. Now I did want to hit the harmonic minor scale. Where do we play the harmonic minor scale? On the B half dim. The B half dim, the B minor 7 flat 5, is a pivot chord. It's the 7 of C, but it's also the 2 of A minor. If you treat it like it's a 2-5, 2, 5, that really pulls us nicely to that A minor world, that A minor sound. So here's A harmonic minor. If you're wondering what harmonic minor on the B half dim to the E7, you actually want to think A harmonic minor. So you lead us to the A minor. And then once you arrive at the A minor, then you can go back to the Aeolian mode, A Aeolian, and that's the 6 of C, right? The relative. Your diatonic to C. One thing that I was just doing, though, when I was demonstrating the scales, and this is all written on the sheet here, by the way, in case you're wanting to look at it, is oh, I was holding it the wrong way. I wrote the name of the modes there, if you could see it. Again, it's kind of funny that the name of the modes, A Aeolian, D Dorian, G Mixolydian, that's all key of C. The only kind of reason why you would call it the mode is if you're the starting note in relationship to the harmony. You have A minor, you start on A, you got A Aeolian. D minor, start on D Dorian. G7. You can mix and match those modes, but you're all in the key of C. However, once we're on that B minor 7 flat 5 chord, that's where it's nice to run the A harmonic minor. And then on the E7 too. So let's give that a shot here. And then there's a quick A7. You see it goes by fast. A7, I'm thinking D harmonic minor. A7 is the 5 of D harmonic minor. So again, that's how basically I'm choosing my scale choices. It's just general. But at that point, I would be kind of just creating some lines and noodling around trying to create a line. A line is just stream of eighth notes often, or melody, to where you're trying to navigate the chord changes and create something that has some shape and that's lyrical. It might be a scale sequence, it can involve many aspects. One other thing here's another thing it can involve is arpeggios. So today, again, I'm just talking about some strategies. I don't want to say they're easy, because you can make them fun and challenging, as we're talking about with the guide tones and targeting and all that stuff, and really, really playing the changes too, without running licks. Even we're not just running any, we're not just throwing in 2/5 licks or stuff like that too, which you can do that as well. So another aspect that's super important is arpeggios. And what I'm doing now is demonstrating the 5 types of chords. Major 7 for jazz, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7 flat 5, and fully dim 7. except there is no fully dimmed 7 chord in the song. You would superimpose a fully dimmed 7 over a dominant chord. That's usually when it's used most commonly, is on top of a dominant chord. I've talked a lot about that, substituting a diminished 7. Good morning, good evening, Johnny there. Thanks for joining me from Fogtown. So here it is. Do this with me, A minor 7. See if you can do this outlining exercise with me. D minor 7. Notice I'm just staying on the 6th and 5th string right now. You could, this is what I label easy arpeggios. That just means within 1 octave. It doesn't mean like going, you know what I mean? That's not an easy arpeggio. I mean, that's a 3 octave run. I'm just saying right now, connected. G7, C major, C7, F major, B half dim, E7, A minor, A7, D minor 7, G7. So again, this is all on the worksheet in case you don't know your arpeggios. I've actually got a ton of arpeggio studies on Patreon, of course, that I would recommend. But definitely get this worksheet. This one's a really good worksheet. It's all kind of a nice little summary here for Fly Me to the Moon, talking about some guide tones, targeting, how to visualize it on the guitar. I demonstrated it. If you missed it earlier, you'll have to replay this video. This video will be public for the rest of the day here. Then it'll go straight to Patreon and YouTube members. But I talked about playing a little game about trying to connect those guide tones. I want to do that. I could do that all day long. It's just fun to do it live if you have a bass player or another guitar player or horn player, violin, and they can, or whatever, keyboard, and they can bust into single notes, and you can practice your targeting live and see if you can create that kind of Bach-like, 2-part invention sound. It's pretty sweet. So that was the arpeggios, just kind of, again, connecting those dots. I think that's important, and you can practice it just 1 octave low. You may go here. Play around with it. And just arpeggiate. You don't have to do it, but then you kind of want to just connect the dots on that. So that's the spiel on that. And then you just want to kind of piece it together. So let's see. I'm going to grab my nylon string, and I'm just going to maybe just summarize it here by playing a little bit of those ideas. Pentatonic. Thirds. Harmonic. Little substitution there. Sometimes it's fun, of course, to throw in some color tones that are not in the chord to get those flavors, especially on dominant chords. But even those suspensions and the half step neighbor tones, if you guys know I'm talking about this stuff. That's kind of like what I teach in my Gypsy Jazz boot camp, those half steps, embellishments, the Mona Lisa. And now I'm just kind of doing the motifs, these little 4-note, 2-note motifs, and trying to take it through the changes Those are all just exercises. You want to throw that in. You don't want to do a whole solo of that. You do for practicing because it's a game and it's not easy. But again, basically you want to mix and match these concepts from targeting really simple melodic concepts to bluesy, some arpeggios, 2/5. More targeting. I keep going back to that first topic of just targeting those thirds. I love that sound. It's really pretty. You can even practice a melody in sixes. So again, that's also on there. That it all helps, just all these different things to practice. You can just say, "Oh, I just want to practice my C major scale." And then you'll hit those notes. Then you'll mix and match. Etc. That's just, again, having fun with targeting pentatonic blues, triads, arpeggios, and some noodling around with scales. Well, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed today's session on some soloing strategies for Fly Me to the Moon. Check out the previous lesson, the live stream. It's on Patreon and it's on YouTube members, Patreon Gold tier, and it's Fly Me to the Moon, where I cover the basics, the melody and the chords all the way through really thoroughly. And I also have the exercise here. I've got a chord melody arrangement. It's one of my more popular ones that I had written out about 5-7 years ago on YouTube. It's on Patreon, the Sound Slice practice video. Consider joining my online music community. Randy, good to see you. We need to set up your private diamond lesson. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. I got to get to a private lesson here myself. So have a good one. Good weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.